Hello, and welcome to Region Locked. The game we're covering today comes from a company best known as the creators of Pokemon, Gamefreak. We've already covered one of their titles on this channel with Mario and Wario, but they had another game for the Super Nintendo that was never published in America. That game is Bushi Seiryuuden Futari no Yusha, which roughly translates as Warriors of the Blue Dragon Legend, The Two Heroes. Before talking about why the product never came to the West, let's take a look at the game itself. Published in 1997 by T&E Soft, Gamefreak's Bushi Seiryuuden is a unique blend of RPG genres. The player takes control of the game's protagonist in a fantasy-themed version of feudal Japan. While out adventuring, the hero encounters a small pink flying monster, Woku. Woku was once a girl, but has been transformed. It's her goal to find a way of reversing this transformation and becoming her true self once again. When the young swordsman's house is destroyed and his sister, Nami, is kidnapped by monsters, he seeks out to rescue her. The game's draw is in its unique gameplay. The player controls the hero through several different perspectives. These include an overhead-style RPG, like that of The Legend of Zelda. From this perspective, you are able to navigate the world, visit towns, cut down grass, discover treasures, and find dungeons. Talking to residents will initiate a first-person perspective, allowing you to look around the environment that surrounds the person you wish to speak with. And finally, entering a battle or dungeon will start a side-scrolling battle phase. While the game appears to be an action game at first glance, this isn't actually the case. Battles are turn-based, and will only continue if the player moves or attacks. But rather than using a typical menu to work through these screens, the hero is actually directly controlled like a typical action game. Battles begin by either attacking an enemy on the overhead perspective, giving the player an advantage over them, or by being ambushed by the enemy, granting them an initial first strike. After a certain period of time, once the player is strong enough, weaker enemies can be wiped out directly from the overhead map. During battles, the player takes control of not only the hero, but also Woku. The hero is able to attack using a variety of sword techniques, or he can use a magical shield to defend himself. The shield is also capable of firing a bullet by using some of the player's Kokoro meter, or spirit meter, but it will only deal half of the player's standard damage. Woku is able to assist the player by lifting him into the air for a short distance, allowing him to attack enemies that are out of reach and navigate the stage. Woku can also distract some enemies and prevent them from hitting the protagonist. If knocked out, Woku can be revived after a number of turns or at the end of each fight. She is also capable of attacking enemies directly, although she will also receive damage for every turn that she is attacking. The hero also has an ability known as the Heart Eye, allowing the player to learn more about the strengths of enemies as well as being able to find hidden paths. As the game progresses, the player will learn skills that will help to attack larger quantities of enemies or deal greater damage. The main goal of the game is to destroy the Tower of the Ocean God. The Ocean God was a god that turned evil, creating a tower which connected both heaven and earth. This created a path between the world of gods and the world of men, allowing for demons to invade the planet. To destroy the tower, the player must obtain Magatama. Magatama are small curved beads which were treated as ceremonial and religious symbolic objects in the Kofun period of Japan. Visually, they appear to look similar to one half of the yin-yang symbol. Each battle has a turn limit, indicated at the start of each fight. Winning the battle within the allotted number of turns provides the player with Magatama. The quicker the fight ends, the more Magatama obtained. The most striking part of the game is its art, which is reminiscent of the Pokemon series. This is likely because Bushi Seiryuuden released just after the original Pokemon games, and it had Pokemon artists Ken Sugimori and Motofumi Fujiwara work on the title. Alongside them was Pokemon composer Junichi Masuda, who worked on the game's soundtrack. And lastly, the game was designed and conceptualized by Pokemon creator Satoshi Tajiri. The game was originally announced under the name Magatama Densetsu, translated as Magatama Legend, and several magazines claimed that the game was to be published by Enix. It appears at some point during development, Enix dropped out of the contract due to concerns with the title's direction, and so a deal was made with T&E Soft instead. It was also published around the end of the Super Nintendo's relevancy outside of Japan, with the Nintendo 64 having been released around the same time. The game's lack of localization is probably linked to this late publishing date, as support for the Super Nintendo had begun to fizzle out by this point. Being an RPG, the game is also dialogue heavy. This would have increased the cost of translating the game and made the possibility of localization even more remote. It's also worth noting that Pokemon still hadn't reached the West by this point, and Gamefreak weren't the internationally recognized developers that they are today. Surprisingly, there is also no fan translation available online at the time of this video going live. Another Japan-exclusive title which did receive an extensive translation, however, was Namco Cross Capcom for the PlayStation 2. If you'd like to see more Region Locked, why not take a look? If you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like and subscribe to DidYouKnowGaming? My name has been Dazz, and this has been Region Locked. We'll be doing a stream of Bushi Seiryuuden over on Twitch when this video goes live. If it's been up for a while, we won't be streaming anymore, but you can follow us on Twitch anyway so that you can keep up with our future streams. It's a pretty good game, and I really wish you guys were able to play it. I hope that one day there will be a fan translation. It's honestly a great game. Have a fantastic evening or morning, depending on where you are.